Good afternoon, Shad. Good to be back with you in the
Hey,
studio.
Lee. Good to
What are
see
we going to
you.
talk about today?
So I thought we might spend a little bit of time talking about a subject kind of people already know about, but really kind of the relevance of and importance of values in leadership.
Good topic. We have
Yeah.
not touched on that yet. We knew we would get to it eventually. So important in organizational life, um, regardless of the magnitude that organizations declare them and talk about them. It is just a part of that life. It's something that we can all relate to. We talk about outside of the
hmm
workplace.
hmm
So what I'm looking forward to is hearing you expand a little bit on the power that values play in the workplace and how they intersect effective leadership.
Right, right. So yeah, I mean, values are one of those things, right, that everyone's talked about or everybody knows the term values. At some point, I'm sure everyone has discussed what their values are. I think we like to think that we live by this set of values that we've defined for ourselves. And I think those values are what we really feel that we stand for and what we believe in. So we'll talk a little bit more about kind of how those play into the workplace.
Okay, cool. I'm tracking with you. So we all have values. We are bringing them into the workplace, whether we're aware of it or not. We are
hmm
bringing our
hmm
past experience and our value
Yeah,
into the workplace. So,
absolutely.
how does a leader uh, unearth, build on, connect to the values so that they could just create a more impactful environment and relationships with their team members and the organization
Yeah.
at a larger scale?
Yeah, a great question. So, the first place is to start with realizing in the workplace there are at least four different types or levels of values that a leader needs to be aware of to be impactful, to be influential with their teams, and maybe even be inspiring to an organization.
So that's interesting. So you're not just talking about the personal values that we were raised with. It's our backdrop. It's what maybe motivates or inspires
hmm
us or makes us how we make decisions. And in addition to that, you're saying even more than even what the organization's declared
Yeah.
values are. You're saying there's more than those two.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I
Okay.
say four, really maybe more like five or more different levels. So we'll kind of break it down, right? So,
All right.
first of all, a leader needs to understand that their values of the organization, right? Most often, this is the company's mission statement, their cornerstone. It tells the leader what the company stands for and believes in, right? And they kind of that's where the organization wants you to focus. That's how they want you to manage. We think of the terms values and culture maybe in synonymous terms, but there's the organizational values. And then so second, a leader has their own personal values, right? So in leadership, it's the way that they think associates and their teammates should be communicated with, supported, and directed, right? These values often are learned from leaders that they admired or from experiences they had. They commingle those personal values from their own life values and their life experiences, right? So we have organizational values and then we have our personal leaders' values. Then the third and fourth levels or types of values come from employees.
Okay.
So,
So,
yeah,
I just want to make sure. So, what you're
yeah,
suggesting is that when we are employees of an organization, we are operating under two sets of values.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So when it comes to work and careers, so it could be the leader too. We all have two sets of values. So that's when I say four. It could actually be five because we have our own personal values and we have our own work values, right? So what I'm really kind of talking about is when an associate comes to work for us, they have work related values and they have personal values. So an associate chooses an organization to work for based on what they believe they want from a career and an organization that aligns with those similar values. So let's say if an employee is looking for an organization where they can advance or where they can grow or they can learn new skills, and that's a value to them, that's going to help drive that associate to that organization. However, there's also this sense of or set of personal values that fall into play as well. So the personal values for anyone that's at work, whether it's yourself or your peers or your teammates, are these larger life evolving values, right? How they want to be perceived and interact, and how the universe is guiding them, right? So those values may revolve around their legacy or personal time with family or honesty within their circle of friends. It's these bigger overarching goals. So, in kind of like a Venn diagram, we're going to have this set of work goals and we're going to have this set of personal goals. And where there's overlap creates more of an ideal workspace. And in the ideal situation, we would have a career for an associate where we have complete overlap and my personal and work values align well. And so I don't have a lot of friction. But where we sometimes will take a job, an associate can take a job because they need to make more money or they need a job that's closer to home, but it doesn't align with their personal or work values. We have this friction. And where that friction
Yes.
comes in, that creates a disconnect for that associate. And it's seen really in for those associates that have that disconnect with our work and personal values in some disengagement, some maybe dissatisfaction with work, right? So they're trying to sacrifice some of their personal goals in order to make sure that they have a work situation that meets whatever they're trying to accomplish. Or maybe they have work goals that aren't fully met by this job, but they take it because it's what they need to do for themselves right now is what they feel. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I don't think I could do it justice in summarizing it because I think you really laid it out nicely. If I could just strike one chord, it would be that organizations benefit from the scenario. And likewise, as employees, we benefit from the work environment when there's stronger and greater synergy between our personal values and the organization's values, right? So
Yeah.
is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I
So,
mean, really for the leader, it's being aware of what that person's personal values may be. That doesn't mean that we need to be in depth, all knowing about somebody's personal life, but we need to know what drives and motivates that person, right? And as a leader, understanding how those personal values and those work values are either aligned for that person or not aligned for that person is going to make us more impactful as a leader and being able to guide our teams, right?
yeah,
So for us, understanding there are two sets of values, and when someone shows up to your organization and maybe they've been a great employee, but all of a sudden they're showing up late or the work is less than satisfactory or the kind of I don't want to say the attitude because that's kind of such a negative word, but just kind of the way they're engaging doesn't correspond with what you've seen in the past. It may not be that they're a negative employee. It may be that their personal values aren't truly being met or being sacrificed in order to accommodate the job. And as a leader, understanding that and being able to help support and align those work values and personal values together is going to make you a more impactful and powerful and patient leader.
right. Shad, one quick interjection here. As you were talking about that, what struck me was this really comes down to leaders just getting to know the people
Yeah.
they're leading,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Right.
So
It's
it
100% that. And it's not, again, I don't need to know everything. I just need to know why you're here, why you do what you do, and how can I support you in that, right?
right,
Believing
right,
that my job as a leader is to support you and what you need, both at work and at home in that personal life, is going to make you
right.
a more impactful.
So one more interjection because you made me think of something else as usual, and that is that I think it's fair to say that what we all experienced universally through the pandemic a few years ago
Yeah.
was that it's work life and non-work life are more blurred than ever.
Yes.
So we can't say that you can't bring your whole self to work. And people, even though we talked about multiple sets of values, at the end of the day, when someone comes to work, the whole person is coming to work. So
Yeah.
leaders getting to know
Yeah.
uh, some of those values
Yeah.
and what is important to those individuals is just critically important. So,
Yeah.
Shad, is there anything else just to summarize that we
No,
didn't
I think it's
cover?
just I think you phrase that really well. And I think the only thing I would add on to that is I think the pandemic highlighted it. I think it's always been there. We just didn't realize how important it was to our people.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, this is good. We covered a really important topic. Again, like we say about some of the other topics we cover, we're going to cross through this one again, maybe even,
Yeah.
just add more content to something like this. I think what we really highlighted was that the values, there's power to the values in the workplace. And in most organizations, even when they do a really good job with values, it's really an opportunity for optimization in any organization. So,
Yeah.
Shad, thanks. This was a great topic. For our listeners, followers, we ask that if you enjoyed what you heard, share with other people, react to it on the platform. And as always, be ready to tune in for another segment and lean in, leaders.